when I left high school, I couldn't get a job. So I started doing vending. Um, so my mom is a vendor, and so she usually, you know, teach me and my sisters, my siblings, how to, do vending. So, my sisters, they would have their seasoning. So they've said like powdered seasoning, like the black pepper, the seasoned salt, the paprika, etc. So my two sisters, they were doing that. And then, so I know I had my shoes polish and, I had my merino, mesh merino, or my clothespins. And so, from there, my mom, she used to always, say that I wanted to be a civil engineer, really. But mom never had the money to send me to university to do that. And so what happened is that eventually I ended up getting a job at a media company. And so the guys there, they were showing me the camera. And so I was talking to my mom one day, and she was telling me about the cameras, and she did some research and found out that there was, CPTC, and that they had a, a certificate course in production, and she was encouraging me to go and do it. And so in order to get her to stop nagging me, I said that, you know what, let me go ahead and do this course. Now, in going to do this course, they carried through the stages of production, and I ended up finding my love in post-production. And so more specifically in post-production editing. And so back in those days, we were using like tapes. And so I left from there, I moved on to Hype TV. And then, from Hype TV, moved on to a company called DC Media. And then from there, I decided that, I wanted to start, my own company. A lot of the things that I do within the company are things that I used to do when, I had my little vending stall. So when I had the vending stall, I realized that, whenever I said thank you to a customer, I got a different response versus when I just hand them the product on the left. Chances are that customer came back, or how I greet the customer. Hi, good morning. How may I be of assistance to you? I found that those things actually, I get a different response. So I carried that over into, frame of reference, the business that I own now. And just being on the road, that has shaped me into, being someone who doesn't give up. Selling on the road is not an easy task. And trust me, there are days when you sell and like, especially for me, coming up from, the poor side, we literally had to sell that day in order to get a meal. So if you don't sell, like, you can't get a meal. And some days you just had to just, push through. There are days now in the business where, things are, not going as I'd want them to. And the fact that I learned from back then, how to persevere and how to push through, that has definitely shaped me and helped me now in the business. The other thing as well too is that when I was on the street selling, we had different seasons for things. So what we do is that when it's back to school time, we'd sell shoes polish and we'd sell the shoes brush, and I wouldn't sell any clothespins, or I wouldn't sell any wash brush at that time because nobody wanted that. People wanted, shoes brush to go back to school, or shoes polish, or the merino to wear on the uniform, or socks. So those, we pivot and we start selling those. We sell school bags, and then when it come to the Christmas period now, we put those away and now we start selling other items. So we start focusing more on like slippers and things that people would use within the Christmas period. And then when the Christmas period ends now, we find that we go back to selling the shoes polish and shoes brush because people want to start sharpening up now for the January school term. And so being able to, I learned how to pivot from, being on the street. There are times too when January phase pass, going into March now, we started selling phone cards because we find that now everybody back to school, nobody don't really want a school bag or those kind of products. So I started selling the phone cards in that time, and how I've carried that over into the business is that uh, we started out solely doing editing, and then we started to pivot and doing color grading. I would find that within the time frame where we have our down periods, we started offering services now where persons can come to us and they can give us their media, and we'll get it to their international client faster than them going to FedEx and sending off the drive. So that's one way how, learning how to pivot from being on the street and carry that over to the business. Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to work on some very interesting and very nice projects. Um, there's this feeling that I get whenever I see my name in the credits. That I think that after being in the business for over 10 years, you think that the feeling will go away, but there's this little happy feeling that I get. We've again, as I said, myself and my team, we've been able to work on some very nice projects. We just completed a project for Bear Salmon, Love from a Distance, and seeing the reaction that persons had, watching that. Was a very nice feeling. We were able to work on a project last year for Amazon Prime called All in the Fight for Democracy, which was shortlisted for an Oscar. Like when I got the message that the documentary was shortlisted for an Oscar, I mean, it is, as you can see, words fail me at the moment. Every time like I mention it, it's just this happy feeling I get. It's just been an amazing experience over the years. I've been able to work with some of the best directors and producers, within the Jamaican landscape. I've got to work with some really interesting people abroad as well. And we even did a documentary last year for HBO Max called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. We've done the rare never content that we've done Rising Stars, we've done the Innovators, we've done the Magnum Kings and Queens of Dancehall. We've worked with some of the best, again, as I said, producers and directors here in Jamaica, and the feeling and the experience has been amazing. Is one major thing, and I think it's something that we should all consider, and it is to treat others how we would want to be treated. I think if everyone stopped for a minute, whenever we're in whatever situation, and think that, would I want that person to treat me how I am treating them? Then it allow you to take a step back and to realize that, oh, well, I'm not being a kind human being at the moment. I'm sure a lot of us wouldn't want to be treated, less than ideal. So that's the main thing I've gotten over my life's journey, is to treat others, how I'd want to be treated. Again, when we're taking on projects, there's a little saying is that everyone should feel like, they got the better end of the stick. And so, again, that's what I like to do, is that I like when my producers and my directors, feel like they got the better end of the stick, while also I'm getting the better end of the stick. We've just started to break the barrier of, what can be done here, using certain cameras to capture certain images, color science, visual effects. Is when we look at our colleagues abroad, certainly they are pushing the boundaries of what can be done, how they shoot. And so I definitely see that being done here in the future. My advice for persons who are, starting out, in technology, looking to, build a career in technology, we are fortunate and lucky enough to be born in a time where we are walking around with a computer in our pockets. And Google is at our fingertips. So for your areas that you're interested in, there's a lot of information on Google. Yes, it can be overwhelming, and yes, there will be information there that is not necessarily good, but again, like when growing up, I wanted any information, I have to go to the library, and I have to wait, and I have to, get books and read. Now, well, we have computers. Again, we have phones that we can take out, and we can, within a minute, we can do some research and find some fairly useful information. So my advice would be to, do your research, especially, speaking more specifically towards filmmaking. Again, there are a lot of resources out there for when it comes down to post-production. There are websites like Post Perspective. There's websites like aotg.com, mixinglight.com, lowpost.com. And these are all websites that, speak to a specific area of post-production. There's visual effects, color grading, editing, etc. So again, the information is there. So do some research. So you can go to twainrichards.com. I write about post-production there. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Twain Richardson, to see work that myself and my team at Frame of Reference, have been completing. Our website is forpostprod.com. And also you can check us out at vimeo.com/forpostprod.com.